Grixer and Yeti sit in 3rd and 4th. Kansan is in 6th. Merc is in 7th. 4 players in this lobby currently in the top 10. They represent almost half of the top 10.
Yeah.
That's an impressive number. Now, not too much farther down, you see Rexen and Bolo. Achieved a ways down, and then everybody else is, well, a boat anchor's depth away from the top. In particular, Chala, Geo, and Super have had some struggles on this team. Now, looking at what is unfolding in front of us, the analyst desk had talked about possibly some wonky bans, maybe take away some operators that you don't usually see. On our screen, a Sledge has been banned by the Soniqs. That is not an ordinary ban by any stretch of the imagination.
No, Parker, that's a very strange ban there from the Soniqs. And I'm taking a look at the operators here for TSM. And Sledge is the #1 most played when available attacker for TSM on every map. So that's the statistic-based ban there. It's targeted. He's also very played specifically on Clubhouse. So just in general, TSM like their Sledge. They're getting rid of a tool that TSM enjoys leveraging, and that's going to be very useful for the Soniqs. I like those stat-based bans. I think they can be more debilitating than they appear on the surface. You know, you get rid of like a Heart Breacher or a counter denial like Thatcher or Maverick, and you think, okay, well, that's going to disable a function for the enemy team. But sometimes just getting rid of the comfortable zones for the enemy team is the right way to go.
I mean, Ubisoft did do that for TSM. Zolfia used to be one of their most picked operators.
Right.
After her changes, her pick rate for a lot of teams has gone down quite a bit. And when you see her being brought now, she's bringing the LMG because of recoil changes to her primary assault rifle. And we've seen this as there's some ebb and flow in regards to the meta. Today announced there was a ton of changes to a wide variety of operators. Castle's got some changes. Capkin's got some changes. Malusi, Wamai, Clash, etc. And obviously, we don't know what impact they're going to make at all, so we'll wait and see. But when you make these operator changes, it forces you to adapt, and good teams can consistently adapt and still play well. TSM had to do this at the onset. Remember how good Achieved's Buck used to be?
Right.
And then guess what? They nerfed Buck. So Sledge became the default go-to for TSM, and it was a role that would be passed around from different players. And now it's unavailable for them either. I'm curious to see if TSM are going to bring the Buck out when they go into attack. Soniqs have, in fact, with Kansan running on the Canadian operator.
Well, it's definitely going to be some interesting changes here and there with who gets brought. I think the extra panel for Castle is going to be really big, too. They did reduce the amount of punches you need to destroy a Castle barricade, but from 12 to 9, I don't really think that's going to be a huge deal. That extra barricade, that'll be a major factor. Also, slight nerfs to the Roni. We'll get into that later, though. The address here for the attacking team right now is above, but as we've all seen, the site is below. This is a distraction effort from TSM. They're trying to slow down this clear as much as possible, and so far, they've been very successful in their setup. Soniqs are going to have to spend that extra time to get rid of these roamers upstairs.
TSM is actually running 4 operators that will be impacted by these changes today, and it's a perfect time for us to highlight it now as there is a bit of calm before the storm. Obviously, the 2 Ronis in hands for Achieved and Geo on Aruni and Mozzie are both losing some of the magazine capacity, down from 20 to 16, and they're just seeing some issues with that recoil. First kill comes out for Grixer, by the way. Merc playing behind the clone, but he can't do anything. Kansan now duels him, and that's 2 very quick kills for the Soniqs.
Yeah, that's really big there, Parker. Getting those 2 entries on the roamers above with still half the round left to play, that's a lot of room for the Soniqs to breathe, and they've effectively counterpunched the exact setup TSM brought. Usually when you bring those kinds of roams upstairs, you're expecting to either waste time or get a frag or 2. Nothing good for TSM in this situation.
Rexen now on the hunt on that main floor. Do they have any info as to whether there's somebody else from TSM playing off-site? In the wings, Geo lurks over by Blue, and he can strike at any time. Completely unaware if there's somebody playing up over by that position, but Rexen spots him on that drone, and then he'll immediately go in pursuit of the play from Geo. All 3 members of TSM have found safe harbor down below, and they'll wait for the 5 players from the Soniqs. Kansan taking that soft destruction as far as it'll go, and this is something you can't do with Sledge at the same proficiency.
Right.
That Skeleton Key of Buck can open up long sight lines all the way from the top floor, and now Kansan will move to the main floor, struggle a bit with the cam. We all have those issues, while the rest of his team does their due diligence over by Moto and look for an opportunity to take blue as well. They'll be dropping from two separate angles, and TSM will be caught trying to contend against those pushes coming from different ways. Geo will be the first one up right now as some flashes drop. The Sonics tearing away at the church wall, even less of the defense for TSM available. Down goes Chala. Grixer's in the middle of the site, super planting. Rexen gets a kill, only achieved left on 1 HP, but a flawless for the Sonics to kick off this match.
Oh, that is not good for TSM. A lot of build up there on the execution. It looked a little bit scary for the Sonics as we started to come down to the last 20 seconds on their execution. They were going to run out of time if they didn't start pumping the gas. That's exactly what they did. And most crucially, in a 5 versus 3 scenario like that, when you have plenty of angles opened up, so you've got your Moto drop open, you're starting to open up the church wall, you've got blue access through that drop, kitchen drop, everything's going for you, right? You're the attackers. Even with limited time, you can still make it work if you win your ones. It's that simple. If you go together, because of the disadvantage of manpower, TSM had to win every single separate engagement. The second they lost the first fight, you knew the round was over. So that's tough for TSM when they lost that church control. But the bigger problem, of course, is really those two roamers upstairs and their inability to make anything happen.
Seemed like it was a bit of a disjointed setup for TSM as well, at least from the vantage point that we had. Didn't appear that TSM were playing so successfully off of each other, and it put Merc in a tough spot when he was up top inside a bedroom as he lost his confidant not too far away, having to play just off of his ability and not much else. We see roams like this on Clubhouse now and again where one of the operators will just decide to play solo and you can waste some time, but quite often, unless you're a very talented player or there's other things going on in which the attackers are a bit sluggish or maybe a bit lazy on their drone work or sloppy, you're not going to be walking away with usually more than one pick. A team like Sonics have been very proficient at trading out, and it's something that as they've gelled more as a squad, they've been able to improve significantly.
I think that their synergy is definitely their number one right now for the Sonics. And whatever it is that's caused that to come into fruition, I think that it's definitely a huge boon for the team. TSM, on the other hand, one of the things they've always been good at is, I mean, you were talking about how they put Merc in a position where he had to perform individually. I think that's actually something that TSM excels at. Not that they shouldn't have to, mind you. I think teamwork is the dream, makes the dream work. But when TSM individually as players find themselves in tricky situations, they can usually fight their way out, get a frag or two, and bring their team back in. That's something that I think that, especially after the last Invitational, they made really apparent in the NAL, I think around Stage 1, Stage 2. And we haven't really seen that yet, obviously, but it's only been one round, so let's give it some time here. Maybe TSM will start, revving on all cylinders, and we'll see some interesting individual play.
Did my eyes deceive me, or was that the third grenade that the Sonics have used to try and take care of that deployable shield that Chala is now playing off of? And all while doing that, they lost drones, they lost time, and it allows the smoke to still watch over this angle. But a smoke of their own will cover on over Kansan, the 6th kill in a row for the Sonics. Super has to fall off. He's choking in all that gas, and she finds the first for TSM. But Kansan's holding, standing pat, watching towards Cash. They can filter in. This will be a tough fight for Merc. Just around the corner to the right of the door frame. Super on low HP. He can try to get that diffuser down. There's still one toxic canister for Chala. You got to wait for the sound of the case. Smoke clears amidst the site, quite literally, but also figuratively. Merc's still holding the same angle inside of construction. Bolo down below, ready to strike, but where's he going to go? Up red stairs? Well, that's where Chala is. They'll end up stacked up in the same spot. Merc not too far off. So the Sonics, with the 45 seconds remaining on the clock, will instead decide maybe we need some more information, and that intel, that knowledge can be so powerful. Rexen's rotated over. They know that there's still somebody playing over by construction. He'll dare a fight with that F2 over towards red, and in they go. Super goes, a grenade goes out. Super taking too much damage, but he's free and clear. Chala on one. Kansan's in the midst of the site. Down goes Chala. Bolo, the last one alive. Where is he, though? Top of red. All right. Another victim for Kansan, who's looking to continue beating them to death, but it'll be Rexen to capitalize instead as the diffuser goes down. Sonics up 2-0.
Wow. So much to talk about there. What an interesting round. First of all, the Sonics. No dancing around. They knew exactly what they wanted to do. We're going to go for a breach play, and while that distraction is happening, we're going to try and take garage and downstairs. It worked perfectly for the Sonics, except for one thing. They couldn't get their plant down. And why? Chala had perfect smoke play that round. And I do mean perfect. Chala could not have played smoke any better that round than he just did. He denied the plant on the breach first. That was the one in the smoke that Super attempted. Then he denied the rotated plant behind default on the server rack second with his next gas canister right after. He put Super down to very low HP, and he single-handedly prevented that from being a much faster round. So well done to Chala, but all while he's doing that, Kansan's in sight. And he's picking apart Chala's teammates one after another. In total, he got 3 kills that round, and they were the most important kills for his team. The 2 initial entries and the shutdown of the player inside of construction. I believe that was Merc. Beautiful round there from Kansan. Also, the pause from the Soniqs. Good stuff. They knew they had the advantage. They knew they had the control. They knew Kansan was in sight, and they knew they didn't need to rush themselves. So they took their time, and it worked out for them.
I'm glad that you highlighted Chala's play, by the way, because he was so pivotal on that one and completely derailed that initial take from the Soniqs, but then an immediate bounce back from the Soniqs to read it well, use the time, and like you said, not waste any of those seconds they had. That was a relatively clean round, despite the stumbles for TSM at the start. Both teams played that quite magnificently, and it's always a beautiful thing to see Siege played, not perfectly, but as close as a lot of teams are going to get. Regardless, it's still 2-0 for Sonic, so TSM can come close and really show off their stuff. But right now, the guns for the Sonics are just hitting their marks. There goes the wall inside of construction, and now it looks like the CCTV wall is next to follow. TSM only has a single body on both of the bomb sites, the same bomb site as before, though they are extended a bit, looking to hold over towards logistics. You've also got Geo playing inside of garage on rafters, so there's coverage there. Unlikely that you're going to see the Sonics be able to just bulldoze their way in and get that diffuser down yet again.
Diligence here for TSM. They've got that downstairs control as well. You can see the Sonics are just looking for another direct play. They're droning themselves into servers straight from breach, not overthinking this execution. See how it goes when the timing aligns. Grix are trying for a nade from below. Nothing going to come of it. He's expecting somebody to be on the bomb, but there's nobody there. Yet he goes for one inside of red. Doesn't get the shield. That means Chala has a much more powerful position to play from when the execution eventually does come through the breach. Still plenty of time here for the Sonics, but their inability to get an early pick is stark contrast to previous rounds, and it might cause a serious issue when it comes to the execution.
That shield that's been set up by TSM is just out of reach of Sonics, and I feel like the Sonics understand how frustrating it is to be able to try and get a hold of it. They have expended a considerable amount of grenades and walked away empty-handed every single time. But out goes the smoke. That's the sounding alarm, and a nice shot from Kansan, who's just in behind Geo. They have control of the site. Grixer, one of his own. Merc finds one. Super gets taken out by Kansan. You don't want to see that, so someone will have to pick up the diffuser. Chala still in this very pivotal position, and the 0-kill Bolo not too far off. That'll remain that way as Bolo gets taken down by Rexit, and Chala's last stand looking for a 3-peat for the Sonics as the smoke will try to engage. Kansan almost at the timer. There it is. Diffuser's down. 2 more bodies from the Sonics to watch over that. They didn't really need to because Chala didn't bother to provoke it. Still a very tight and shrewd angle, but Rexin is just on something today, and the whole Sonics are in fact on something today. And I want to know what it is. 3-0 for them.
What are they feeding them, Parker?
Oh, no.
Beautiful play there from Kansan. Once again, big round from him. He gets 3 crucial kills on the entry and a 4th kill if you count Super. Now, it's going to be a tactical timeout here from TSM. And Parker, I don't know how you feel. I think this is absolutely necessary. You got to staunch the bleeding.
Oh, 100%. Even if there's no real strategic talk that's going to be coming out, I know there will be. But even if there's not as heavy lifting on the strategy aspect, I can't imagine that TSM's mental is in a very good place right now. As pivotal as this matchup is for the Sonics, TSM is simply put one of the biggest orgs in the entire Rainbow Six ecosystem. There is a ton of expectations for this team time in and time out, and for periods of time. There was a very credible argument I think you could have made over the last year that TSM was one of the best teams in the world. They had the best performance in North America, or out of the North American teams at SI earlier on. And I mean, you look at TSM and the way that they play. and the players that are on this squad. And you can't be a mediocre team. That is not acceptable for this org. That is not acceptable for the teams. So you got to settle it down. And like I said, it's a crucial matchup because while the top 3 teams are all tied at 12 points, TSM is still in 4th place. They are still in a position to go to the 6th major in Sweden that was just announced a couple days ago. A win here for TSM gives them some serious breathing room with 2 more matches to go. And they have Xset and Mirage up next. Not to be a doubter, but that's the 7th and 8th place teams of a 9-team league. TSM's last tough matchup on paper is here. If they can pull out 3 points over the Soniqs, the likelihood of them being able to do the same to Mirage and Xset is very high, and that all but locks in a top 4 position for them. So these are 3 critical points, and TSM need to sort it out, and they need to do it quite quickly because we just saw the attackers take 3 rounds in a row here on Clubhouse.
Yeah, I don't know, Parker. I'm not really seeing it. I mean, like, we're not seeing the potency that we're used to having with TSM, or that period of time you're talking about, like that year where TSM was on top. It's just not there right this second, and that's worrisome for sure. They're gonna go for a roam above once more. This is the same way they tried to defend this exact site the last time they defended it, and it did not work. They lost 2 players up top. And then the Sonics slowly and methodically worked their way towards the site and actually got a flawless round. So, second time's the charm, hopefully, for TSM as they try it once more. This is defense on Clubhouse, and I do want to bring that up. That is a relevant situation because Clubhouse historically has been a defender-sided map, and even now in this stage, it is a defender-sided map at a 58% defensive win rate. Not as much as it used to be, but still. And, yeah, every round is super important here for TSM. I like how we're seeing checks for cap cans, by the way, because you can put multiple cap cans on one door now. That's just funny to think about. Rexen, the lead-off kill. Down goes Geo. He still won't be able to find a kill as he's on the 4th round on a donut. The rotation into Jim, though, big from Achieved. He gets 2 huge kills. Down goes Super and Kansan. You don't need those bullets, as Achieved only lands headshots.
Well, that right there is monstrous, Michael. Kansan has been arguably the more important player on Soniqs over Rexen as the entry point. Also working in terms of utility. It's hard to overstate how damaging it is to lose Kansan. And not just that, you also just lost your Hard Breacher. You've lost your Thermite on a church defense. That is huge. Those exothermic charges can go on hatches. They can go on the wall into church. There's so many applications here. So it'll be a tough spot for them to find themselves in. There'll be quite a bit of work that Yeti needs to do, and he might as well be stranded at the moment. He's over by blue, and there's this crisscross applesauce of laser gates in front of Soniqs that greet them in the doorway towards the back of Arsenal, and also that drop through blue. Merc sits on top of it. So even if they manage to take out the Aruni gates, he's still going to be in a good position to greet them.
This is all going to come down to timing, Parker. You can see that the Soniqs are setting up for just a blue exclusive take. Maybe they're going to factor in Moto as well, as you see Rexen and Grixer start rotating over there. Since Yeti is in blue, he could make a play. And if he does, it will enable his team.
He's going to watch that area where Merc is just to the side of it. I don't know if he's aware of that. Try to shake something loose, Soniqs say. With Grixer finding a footprint, down goes Achieved, the main villain for the team. And there's 2 from Yeti, huge. Rexen walks right in, takes charge, but through the wall, he gets fired away on. Grixer can't follow up quickly enough. He needs to hurry. With Yeti in tow, Grixer on 1 HP. Merc is there. He hasn't been shaken away. Yeti's still trapped inside of blue with 2 seconds left. There's no hope for him. Those 2 big kills were so pivotal, but that is ultimately where it ends for the Soniqs as the case dies inside a church. And the round, for the first time, goes to TSM.
Wow. The timing on those engagements were so important to the outcome. TSM, super slippery in that round. Very well played. Their ability to engage, win fight, disengage, reposition, especially from Bolo there by box 1, that was huge. If he had been refragged, you're looking at a completely different result in all likelihood. That allows Yeti to walk out of blue and meet up with his teammate, and you're now 2v1ing on the guy playing box 3. And that's it for TSM, but not the case. Even though Yeti got those 2 kills on the entry, still was not enough for his team. And well played to TSM, finally getting around. They'll go to Jim as their next defense. That's the difference, I guess, with TSM when they don't lose so many players early on, where they don't lose the advantage early on, they can definitely hold it together. And hopefully for TSM and their fans, that round will instill in them a little bit of confidence.
Well, that was a huge first pick from Achieve that snowballed into a second. He held control and then got away. It forced the Sonics to completely blow up what they had expected. And then, not just that, but I mean, you lose Kansan if he's bringing flashes. You lose Super if he's bringing smokes. You also lose the ability to toss some of those throwables in to deal with the laser gates that we saw over by Blue. And if you want to take care of those, you're going to need something to throw at him, or else you're going to be paying for it with a portion of your HP. And the moment that that happens, there'll also be an audio cue that you've dropped. And, well, that's why Merc was there to basically punish you for it. So the timeout works, the second defense of Church works, and now TSM, feeling confident and emboldened, will go to a bomb site that hasn't seen any play yet between these teams, which is the bedroom bomb site upstairs. And this was something I was going to comment on, Michael. After they took the timeout, they went back to Church, which to me sent a sign that we'll go with the more defender-favored site, as Church tends to be easier to hold for teams, but more importantly than that, it meant that TSM were confident enough to not have to panic and go to a new bomb site to try and stop that bleeding.
Well, sometimes, Parker, you could just get kind of put off center by the way your other team is playing. So I think TSM just wasn't prepared from what we've been for what we've been seeing from the Sonics, and that's perfectly reasonable. It doesn't mean that they're completely out of this, but they lost a lot of ground in those first 3 rounds. The timeout was exactly what they needed, it seems, to just reset, refocus, and recognize the way that the Sonics are playing, which is very fast-paced and extremely well-coordinated. You have to be able to break free of that coordination by winning individual gunfights when the Sonics actually do put themselves in positions where they're isolated, which is very uncommon from their execution so far.
Head-to-head gunfights still not working out in favor of TSM, though, and that's worth noting. Of the 4 rounds that have been played out to completion, the Sonics have been perfect on securing entries and opening duels, though it was achieved to refrag quite effectively that second time around. A little bit of an annoyance being brought. No Jackal this time, but it's going to be a Ying instead. And okay, Rexon's in the middle of the site. Rexon's in the site. Hello, I would like to remind you that Rexon is in the site, and just to his left is Merc. They can probably hear each other breathing, and Rexon, how does Merc not hear him? There you go. Finally, a pivot taken down over by the mattress. Still playing in that same position. A 3v3. Chaos ensues. Kansan, he meets his fate at the hands of Bolo. The Wamai hunkered down, leaving Super and Yeti to deal with everything else. Yeti, usually a top performer for the team, but his stats aren't exactly where he probably wants them to be. Good news, he's had the rest of the team to carry him that way. And TSM guns finally come alive at the right time. Final 30 seconds left. What kind of distraction can they give for Super? He walks right in. He's inside of the bathroom, waiting for Yeti to give a call. Inside of logistics, there's one, but he loses the fight. A nice shot from Achieved, and Super has no chance against Bolo, who sprays away once that smoke seems to clear. And TSM take their second round in a row.
Big one there from TSM. I actually thought it was going to be over as soon as they had that player inside of the master bedroom. Sonics looked like they were going to be able to take that and walk away with it, but luckily Merc in the right time, or at the right time, in the right place. I will say though, nobody's covering the hallway for Rexon, who just walks in. What? That's not supposed to happen. So yeah, Merc gets this kill, and that's crucial. If Merc hadn't gotten that kill, and Bolo the 2-piece from the construction door, we're definitely looking at another Sonics round. But the fact that Rexon was allowed to walk in like that in the first place was cause for major concern.
Yeah, that's a huge blind spot. And the same thing happened earlier with Rexon, by the way, with Geo on catwalk inside a garage. Remember, Geo was watching the main doorway leading from garage outside. He turned, he pivoted, he looks towards CCTV and the breach that had been opened up, and Rexon just walks right up.
Yep.
Nobody sees him, nobody stops him.
There's some odd oversights here for TSM on their coverage, on their what you could call a default for defense. We'll see how that translates to attack when we get to the second half. But for now, the last round of the first half has an interesting selection for TSM.
Well, things get better. That timeout really did settle them down, and this is more of the old TSM that we wanted to see. They're responding much better and not conceding so much on those entries. Still, the Sonics have prevailed in terms of opening picks, but Kansan and Rexon are not finding themselves with that same opportunities. This is a rat play if I've ever saw one now, as this is the best opportunity for TSM to get an opening pick, but Achieved thinks otherwise after a drone scoots by just behind him.
Yeah, that's a really solid... Ooh, Grixer can see the Echo behind the bar there. That's a pick potential there. But yeah, that's a solid spawn peek that we just saw from Achieved. Oh no! Grixer through the wall and the doorway. Great use of the yellow pings. Yeti will add to it by taking down Merc. So you've effectively dealt with your plant denial, inshallah, on the Echo, and one of your primary roamers in Merc, who has been a very important player for TSM. With those 2 early picks, Soniqs, if they play their cards correctly and don't stumble here, should pretty easily take this first half.
Well, if you take... Oh, nice shot by Bolo on the Kansan, all right. He had been able to down him and then finish him off with that pistol. This is a bar stock defense, by the way. For those of you that have been in a bit of a... snooze, sleep, hibernation, wherever you were. Clubhouse got reworked and Barstock is allegedly more defendable now. Though we've seen a couple opportunities of it, I still don't feel like it bats at the same strength that the other 3 sites do. There's still time for teams to be able to sort this one out. And as you can tell, like so many other maps, a defense is going to be headquartered upstairs on the top floor to watch all of the angles. There's a nitro cell tossed out by Yeti. I don't know if he heard or saw it or... There's a disappearing act, but he's going to be in pursuit. Ooh, nice flick on Bolo, who is completely aware of where he was, but Yeti is just something else right now. Achieved takes down Rexon, second member of the Soniqs, to falter, leaving Geo and Achieved to defend against the remaining 3 from SQ. Make that 2. Nice shot from Geo. He'll break the curse that he had. 0 kills. Well, now he's got 1 to his name. A 2v2 with Super and Yeti to work together again. It was not so successful the last time around. Let's see if they have a different result this time.
Well, they're definitely in a worse position than they ought to be, and by them I mean Soniqs here, Parker, as they were in a 5 versus 3 for a little bit there. Way too much attrition on those individual engagements that the Soniqs left themselves in. The big problem here, of course, for both teams is that they got 1 player on low HP. Super still yet to find his first kill. Will need to do so in all likelihood this round. With 25 seconds left, the Soniqs are starting to encroach on the site. Achieved is downstairs, leaving Geo as the solo hold on site right now. It's going to take some time for Achieved to get back upstairs, and he likely will be cut in that cross. Here comes the attempt from Super and Yeti. They will start smoking off these avenues, and down goes Yeti, putting all pressure on Super. He'll get his first kill, but he can't find the second. He's looking the wrong way. On the other side of the smoke, Achieved has got the mark, he's got the info, and he's got the kill. Default cam still up. And that's an easy one for TSM. They'll take this half to a 3-3 scoreline and tie us up.
Well, I gotta say, I don't know if I would consider this a proper 3-3 match right now. I still give a little bit of weight to the Soniqs as looking like the better team, but they had some stumbles, and we complimented them earlier on in that first half, saying that, well, they didn't waste any time whatsoever. They did a mighty fine job of pivoting and then using the final 45 to 50 seconds of that round in particular back, I believe it was round 2, excellently. But the Soniqs really struggled when it just came down to Super and Yeti. It didn't look like they had much intel. 1 drone to their name, it gets out, it gets shot. There's a default cam still up. Super doesn't want to give his position away, but guess what? There's 3 players from TSM sitting on cams, and you best know that the default cam that is in the middle of the bomb site is going to be watched with very eager eyes. So there's not much that the Soniqs can do. They try as best as they can. Super gets 1 pick, but that's really all that they're able to accomplish at the very end of that round. And it gives TSM a huge opportunity. But if we do view Clubhouse through that defender-sided lens as we have for so long, then this gives the Soniqs an opportunity to once again regain the lead and continue to grow that after they picked up those 3 somewhat startling rounds on attack.
I do wonder how the changes when they do go live for operators like the Mozzie that we see be played like pretty much every single round are actually going to affect the game. If we were mistaken when we were talking about the patch notes earlier, they actually aren't live just yet. But
oh no, I know.
But they will be an interesting influence on the game once they come out. Now, it's a bottom floor defense here for the Soniqs to start. Clear upstairs. Open goes the server wall. Grix are going to be feeling some pressure from that one, but he's just going to hold fast inside of cache and construction, as he's got to support the flank for Yeti. If this is an in-tandem roam, you can't give up one angle and have the other one still in play. So if you give up one like that, then you're giving up the other. That's going to force the other roamer on the other side of the top floor, Yeti, to fall back a lot faster.
Oh my, okay. Well, they decide to push the engagement, which can work out for some people in this particular instance. It's not ideal. Merc doesn't lose a lot of 50-50s, and if you're going to fight Merc head-to-head, usually isn't going to work out so well for you. And that's why we focused so much on how when Merc has a good game and he can begin to make space immediately, the rest of TSM flourishes. Well, they've got an opening pick. And excellent for them. A great way to start this first half for TSM.
Soniqs are still trying to hold on to this top floor, and that's actually kind of risky, but luckily for them, there's nobody on the cut. Frankly, that could have been punished a whole lot more by TSM, but they still got the lead-off pick, and that's the most important factor. You can see that Soniqs are vying for a re. Rexon playing by the main staircase, just trying to slow things down as much as possible, shoot some drones, maybe catch a head or two if he can take down a hard breacher, for example, Chala. That'd be really awesome for his team. Bolo up by the bar, trying to put pressure on that main staircase, wary of the potential push from Rexon, who has already fallen back. Good vertical play there from the Buck of Merc. He's going to open up from above, and there's some pressure being applied to Kansan inside of Arsenal. The Soniqs have fully buttoned up, though. They're just waiting things out. And with the Kaid in play, it's going to require a nade on the kitchen drop in order to open it up.
It's 40 seconds remaining in the round. Not a lot of time for TSM to work with here, but they're going to hope that they can manage to evade the Kite Electroclaw, and they do so quite well. So both of those Selmas, the tentacles reaching enough to blow open the hatch and allow unfettered access down to kitchen. It's been 10 seconds that it's taken, and the first kill for the Soniqs in this half finds itself on the board. Down goes achieved, but oh no! He blows himself up with Geo in tandem. Oh my goodness, that is not good. They both die. Unideal. Kansan get taken down by Bolo. This round is just an absolute mess, but Bolo's still there. All right, finding everyone in the process as Chala gets the plant down. Rexon's last alive. What the hell just happened? We'll see a retake from over towards Church. Through Moto, now watching above. Is there anything he can do? Is there any drones that can potentially spot Rexon? Still looking to head back. One player from TSM sitting on the case, one from above. This looked like it was going well for the Soniqs, but then Bolo did what Bolo does best. He's picked up 8 kills after he had none to his name just a couple moments before. He potentially get a 9th unless he feels kind enough to give it to Chala, and he does! A second kill for Chala, as that's 4 unanswered rounds from TSM. And you gotta think, timeout time for the Soniqs, Michael?
I think so, Parker. This would be an opportune moment to just pause, consider your options, and oh, look at that, a timeout from the Soniqs. They're going to go ahead and think about what they can do and how they can correct course the problems that they've been having. Despite that mess that you mentioned up in kitchen, TSM still managed that round, and you know, it could have gone smoother, I imagine, if they still had their pressure from above. So it's actually a lunch break here for the Soniqs as they chow down on some apples. you gotta stay you gotta get your nutrition in, Parker.
Yeah, absolutely. Bananas, apples. What other fruits do you think these teams could potentially eat? We've seen, of course, the memes over on TSM with the bananas, but focusing on what we see in front of our eyes, the TSM timeout that was taken back at the conclusion of round number 3 worked wonders, and since then TSM have yet to drop a round, despite the fact that the Soniqs have had an advantage in many of those rounds. 2 in particular that jump to mind are the 2 that just transpired. Well, TSM somehow, through the mid to late round, are beating the pants off of the Soniqs, whereas the Soniqs have been quite proficient at the start. If you're the coach of the Soniqs, what are you focusing on for the remainder of this matchup? Keep in mind that the Soniqs looked like they had a lock on this game when they were up 3-0, but it appears that the first team to clinch the 6 Invitational, the Major, and the NA League, well, it looks like it might be denied at the moment, but we'll see.
Would be quite the thing for the Soniqs if they were able to pull it off. They aren't that far away. I mean, yeah, TSM have managed to put together 4 rounds, and that's great, but it's still only 1 round advantage over the Soniqs. They've got a lot of room to breathe. They earned that space at the beginning of this match. We talked about it at that time, you know, that TSM wasn't out. There's a lot on the line for both of these squads, and they're going to be giving it their all. TSM wants to keep themselves in the running for the Major, and On the other hand, Soniqs want to secure their position. It's really that simple. One does the other, and we'll see if we'll see if TSM can make their dream come true, or if Soniqs are going to be able to make the rest of this stage easier. Now, again, it's an upstairs roam. On a bottom floor defense, this is just a standard defense strategy for the bottom floor these days. The big problem for the Soniqs last time they attempted this is that they lost a player early on by server, and it doesn't seem they're going to let that happen again, as they already retreat as the wall gets opened.
Quick time, 30 seconds into the round right now. And that church defense didn't work out. Second crack at it? Why not? TSM still doing drone work upstairs. We see an Echo on the board. Same hard breach lineup for TSM. At least the Ace and the Thermite might be able to work wonders next to each other. There's a drone to grow Grixer's army, and he'll very quickly pilot it away, set it up for flanking, maybe even just to assist on a roam. Who knows? He's got 2 of them now.
Wow.
That's quite nice.
That's
a huge amount of intel, Michael.
Yeah, that's massive, Parker. Having those extra drones and slowing things down for TSM, also very important. But look at this. Bolo on the cross. He gets a pick onto Yeti. This position atop the main stairs, with line of sight into the main stairs, rather, is going to be very profitable for TSM. And that's the cut that they didn't have last time they were attacking this site. Now they have it, and there's the first pick that they needed.
Well, it did take TSM until the final 30 seconds before they could pull it off, as they aced their way through that reinforcement in kitchen. The big change is that Grixer's got drones to do his bidding. He's down to just 1 now. I'm not sure exactly what happened to it, but it seemed like it was set up inside of the kitchen, and yeah, it's still there. So they know if they're going to be pressured from that angle. TSM don't necessarily need the kitchen like they did before. They could potentially try a pinch through church and try it through blue. Right now, Geo's working on that moto hatch, so expect somebody to drop, but there goes the clone of Achieved scooting on by, and nobody from the Soniqs can deal with it. It's just going to run around very leisurely, taking its time. Achieved having a whale of a time with that one. There goes the hatches. Kansan can hear them blowing up, but he's got 2 angles to watch. Breach charges as well as Grixer feeds information. There's still yokai drones on the boards, and a grenade goes off, doing some damage to Rexon and Grixer. It's going to be a brawl again. If the last round was confusing, well, buckle up, because there's still more players in the server with these final 20 seconds. Bolo's at the bottom of the main stairs again. He was a pivotal player, and Chala will drop now with the diffuser in hand, looking to go for a plant against the safety of the panel. Rexon takes down Merc, but Bolo's in yet again. Oh my goodness, double digits for him. Nitro Cell goes off, 1 HP for Grixer. Bolo not lucky enough, but Achieve takes 2 for good measure. There's a yokai there. They shoot at the last second, so Super will have to take measures into his own hands. He'll make a lot of noise through Dirt Tunnel. Here's the yawn, and he can't outduel Achieve. The timeout doesn't work for the Soniqs as TSM notch their 5th round in a row.
Nice round there from TSM, and great reactions from Bolo. He's feeling alive today. At the start of the day, he was in upper middle of the pack when it comes to North America, statistically. And today, he has been one of the star players for TSM on this resurgence. The most crucial thing there, and the reason why I'm putting praise on Bolo's name here, is not because of the quantity of kills that he managed to get there, but the crucial nature of those kills. Now, his job in that round was to watch bottom main stairs and cut the cross between the sites from bottom main. That was Bolo's job. And his situational awareness kicked in, and he, instead of just sitting on the bottom main stairs, as many more lethargic players would do, he decided to make a very confident push down the hallway, expecting there to be little to no coverage because the defenders were distracted with other tasks. And he was absolutely right. His ability to open up that round for his team was massive in its effect, and it allowed for that objective play to come out despite the yokai drone.
Well, he was just a little bit too early on that one in terms of timing, but you can't really fault him for going for it. Soniqs, it's been over 15 minutes now since they've been able to notch a victory. What do you do to turn the tides here? They're playing on another bomb site upstairs now on bedroom and gym. It's the first time that we're going to see them play it. This bomb site was only played 1 time on TSM's first round of defense, and they won it back in round number 5. So when you look at a bomb site like this, how do you think this default setup for the Sonics is going to work out? And I say default because this looks very similar to what we see out of a lot of gym bedroom holds.
It's pretty standard. The only non-standard thing I'm seeing right now is how heavily Sonics are invested on the cash side. And you can see TSM, they're opening up Jacuzzi. That'll prompt the rotates back here from the Sonics, and rightfully so. If there's nobody pushing cash, then you're wasting your time over there. And I think that's a good read from TSM, because it was, like, I mean, so many shields, so many players cash side. You may as well just try something different. And TSM are also going for some downstairs pressure here. Rexon, oh, he's making a lot of noise, walking around like this, and he gets the good read and wins the fight. Down goes Merc. That's huge, but a big kill from Achieved as he manages to save the round from a man disadvantage for TSM.
Well, that sequence just got 2 players into the double digits. Michael Rexon notches kill number 10, and Bolo grabs, or sorry, rather Achieved grabs number 10 to match Bolo, who'd gotten it 2 rounds prior, if I remember correctly. So finally, these teams are being able to put kills on the board. TSM's focus over towards that Jacuzzi wall will continue, but there's nobody playing inside a bathroom. This is a bit unusual. You usually have a defender quarterbacking that spot. Instead, Kansan is within reach of it, but he's going to be playing up on the bed. He's got 2 of those alibi prismas right by his side. 2, if he needs to, that are watching the windows. Anybody shoots through there, they'll be tracked. I don't know what damage this AUG can do to anybody through that area of Jacuzzi wall, but we'll see. Out goes a grenade by Achieved. This tells me that TSM doesn't have intel on somebody playing in the bathroom, rather not playing in the bathroom, and that's not particularly good for TSM.
Well, they are going to open it up just so they can have that line of sight and cut into the middle of the site. That limits the options for the Sonics when it comes to defense. But Kansan's making it work regardless. That hole actually working out for him. Will he get a second? No! Huge kill there from Geo as Kansan gets shut down on the bed. That opens up Jim perfectly. Now it's on... Oh, that's the shoulder of Grixer! He sees the shoulder but doesn't shoot, and Geo looks away at the worst moment, but it doesn't matter as his teammates are picking up the necessary kills to lock this round out. Grixer, the last one alive in construction, he still has an impact. He can make a play, but he's not going to be able to. Geo will shut him down, and TSM, wow, they put us on match point.
So far, through these 9 rounds, in terms of objective play, the Sonics have 2 successful diffusers planted. TSM has 1, though I will argue that TSM could have had more of that had they just, not killed everybody quite so quickly. I will also have to go to the tape in the previous church defense to see if that diffuser actually went down in time as Super's Yokai got shot away. I don't think it was done in time, but it was mighty, mighty close. In terms of opening duels, though, this is the eye-popping statistic right now. 7 of the 9 rounds, the opening kill has gone to the Sonics, and yet TSM still continues to persevere. 6 rounds in a row. The Sonics will need to be perfect from here on out and then go into overtime, where TSM will be on attack in OT. So there's a lot of work for the Sonics to be done, and it's another church take for TSM. This will be, or rather for... another church defense for the Sonics, and it'll be a 3rd church take for TSM. They have been really comfortable on this bomb site, being able to get an early pick or at least refrag immediately, isolate the last couple players on Sonics in church or in blue, and the Sonics have been very weak on their B bomb site defense. That's something that we're going to need to watch and see if they make any corrections on.
I mean, the Sonics have been weak on defense, period. I mean, whether it comes to the roam, the anchor positions, it's just been a tough go for them. If I'm not mistaken, this is, what, this is 6 rounds in a row for TSM, right? I got that right? They won those last 3 in the first half. They managed to put themselves in a great position, if I recall correctly. And then now Sonics haven't won a defense. So everywhere they go seems to just not work for the Sonics. Now... This is the 3rd time, I believe, we've seen this specific defense from the Sonics, where they try to defend the bottom floor, they roam upstairs, and it's going the same exact way it went the last 2 times, where TSM will clear out above, and then they'll start putting the pressure on the site. So I'm not really seeing a lot of fluctuation here from the Sonics. Maybe they'll be better on the roam? I guess we'll see.
I guess we'll see is the correct way of going about this. Only a minute's off, and we still don't really have a good sense of the focus for the Sonics, but they didn't like their roam upstairs. They hear the skeleton key of Merc working away. So what do? Well, immediately the Sonics retreat. This sledge ban that the Sonics brought out, not really working. Maybe it's working in regards to Merc if he would be on that typical sledge roll, but certainly isn't slowing TSM down any at all. Yeah. And the Sonics understand where I think this push is coming from. All 5 players all nestled within the same area, very close to each other, setting up ADSs, potentially throwing down some late Banshees as well, as there isn't any utility remaining in the hands of the 4 players of the Sonics that don't generate it. No magnets available for cans in either. So the dust seemingly settled on the defense. TSM getting the hatches. Soft hatch inside of blue, and then the metal hatch inside of bar.
I have to appreciate the fact that the Sonics did choose a different rotate course instead of getting cut as they did on main stairs in the last attempt of this site. They rotated very differently. Oh, shotgun nabs 1 and no, just barely doesn't get the second. Nice job from Yeti though, forcing out that 3rd Selma, and Super will do one better as down goes Bolo in the kitchen door. Excellent use of that vertical play from the Sonics as the TSM players were distracted by the attempt to open up the drop. And now Sonics find themselves in a man position with 35 seconds.
Geo netting one on the Super. There he goes. Looking for a drop grenade on in. Are there smokes there? Grixer out duels Geo. Achieved his trap behind this barricade, but bullets will just go over his shoulder. Grixer's in this powerful position. And it finally seems like when the match is within reach for TSM, the Sonics say no thank you. But Chala drops, down goes Kansan. 3 bodies for Sonic still up. Another will go down. Chala can't get more than that as it's Merc credited with the kill on Rexon. He's on 1 HP. Skeleton key out, but Yeti's just out of reach. And the Sonics take a must-win round to stay alive here.
Really big round there from Grixer, holding it together for his team from box 3. And the Sonics, yeah, you're right. They're still in it, but just barely. That's some scary stuff still. Feeling that pressure. They'll need 3 rounds in a row to answer TSM and bring us to overtime. Now, that round, with the leadoff pick going in the favor of the Sonics, even though they TSM managed to get it back pretty quickly, ended up going exactly the way that they needed because of, again, that play from box 3. You cannot go wrong if your box 3 player is holding down Arsenal. They'll be able to cover pretty much everything from that position. And if you can't dislodge that player, usually done through nades or pressure from dirt tunnel or just a double rush through blue, or even a pixel angle from the kitchen drop. You got a lot of options. Then, well, you're going to struggle on your attack. And that's exactly what we saw there from TSM.
Finally, the Sonics are able to dig deep enough. One of the big things as well has just been engagements. I hate to harp on kills, but I think it's something worth noting. And actually had a great deal of chatter over whether or not kills should be a focal point here as to who is getting impactful kills versus who isn't. With the roles that are being played, I feel like everybody's doing their jobs pretty well. I know that a lot of you Chala fans out there have been dismayed at the fact that his stats have decreased from where he was in previous roles, but the role swap that went through TSM's minds for Chala and Geo, well, I can't say it's worked out, but it definitely hasn't been as terrible as some of the fans had worried about early on. In this match, it seems to be doing okay.
Yeah, Chala's been good on hard breach, and he had impeccable smoke play in the first half. Look at this, though. Down goes Merc through the... Oh, no. Was that through the drone hole? That's really unfortunate. I think it may have been. It could have been through the wall as well, but either way, leadoff for Sonics.
Well, that could be a fatal blow here for TSM. Though I will say that they've still got tons of backup. Merc has actually been one of the worst performers on the team so far today in terms of impact and the way that his role is played out. So who knows? I mean, not that you want to willingly go down a player. Grenade will now get tossed on in, but that looks like it was a swing and a miss by TSM as Yeti and Rexon are shoulder to shoulder, but down goes Rexon to Bolo, and 2 players from the Sonics are currently trapped inside of Cash. Malusi playing off this angle with Kaid right there. Achieve falters. Are they just going to throw bodies at this problem? Yeah, they are, but you got Bolo to quarterback this push. And there's still one more for him to find. 2 potentially as Yeti and Kansan are trapped in Cash. Super's on site alone. Oh my goodness, Geo has to get out of there as Kansan turns and pivots and fires. If Chala and Geo realize this, they could very easily swing over in that direction, but Bolo can't lose. Super comes in, and he's the one to silence Bolo, as both these teams now sit at a 2v2. All of this action happening with half of the round to go.
Yeah, Yeti's got to fight his way out of this. Yeti and Super have been in this clutch position before. They haven't been able to make it happen before. Now, Yeti in the corner. Super goes down to construction. Now it's just Yeti, but he beats Chala in the heads-up gunfight. Low HP, and he can't out-duel Geo. A huge round from Geo, and that's it. GG.